Welcome to another episode of Ship War, my review of the Beauty and the Beast mid-season finale.
Shipper War. When ship happens, I'm there.
Now, for those who saw the pilot episode review of mine, you know that I was pretty disappointed with the pilot episode for this series. And I have to say, since then, this series has just gotten progressively better. I'm enjoying the story, enjoying the characters, and enjoying the chemistry between all the characters. I'm enjoying the partnership between Catherine and Tess. I find that to be freaking hilarious, those two. I'm enjoying JT, his dry sense of humor, and Evan and his beautiful British accent. So with that said, this mid-season finale comes off of a handful of episodes where Vincent has this problem where he's blacking out, and during this blackout he has no control of himself and he's beasting out and running around New York City. So what ends up happening is JT comes up with this serum with the help of Catherine and her finding this booklet, this notebook that her mother had, which basically had the formula to the serum. And Vincent ends up taking it. He feels like he's never going to beast out again. And then with Catherine teasing him about her father's wedding and how she would love for him to go because at this point she has no date. And it would be great if he went under some alias name, Vincent Solansky, and they can go off and just, be two people at a wedding. And he takes that literal, even though I feel like Catherine was kind of joking about it, just saying that she wished he can be there. He feels like that he really wants to go because he's better now. He feels like he's almost cured, but in reality, he's not. Catherine, on the other hand, is mostly focusing on her father's wedding because she feels like she's been neglecting him for a very long time because she feels like for the past 9 years she's been obsessing over her mother and trying to figure out what happened to her mother and why it happened. And so she feels like this is her father's wedding and she needs to basically step up as his daughter and help making his wedding a success. And that's basically her main focus in this episode until a case of the week comes up and she ends up having to focus on that along with trying to find a date for the wedding, which is funny because it ends up that the person she ends up having to, investigate is a person who's a dating service person. And that whole scenario is pretty funny. It really was. Now, going back to the case of the week, I've noticed that a lot of people who are watching the series don't seem to really enjoy the case of the weeks. They actually feel like the case of the weeks are actually the low points of the series and everything else are obviously the high points. Me personally, I don't mind the case of the weeks. I feel like if we didn't have a case of the week, there wouldn't be much to really show on this series without basically cutting this series into a one-season series because everything else would be just Vincent and Catherine, and then what else are we going to see in the episodes? I feel like these Case of the Weeks are the fillers of each episode. Each series has a filler, and these Case of the Weeks are its filler. And I know a lot of people don't seem to really like them, but personally, I don't mind them. I find some of them to be pretty amusing. Especially the one in this episode I thought was pretty amusing because it led with the whole thing with Catherine trying to find her date and all that good stuff. And the one previously to that with the Justin Bieber wannabe, that was pretty freaking hilarious. So I don't mind these Case of the Weeks as long as they are entertaining and as long as they add to the story. And some of these Case of the Weeks have been adding to the story, especially helping Catherine realize certain things and progressing the story when it comes to her relationship with Vincent. So I don't mind the Case of the Weeks, even though I know a lot of people do. For this episode, without saying too much to spoil it, because I feel like if you are one of those people who gave up on the series after the pilot and you haven't been watching, I don't want to say too much about this episode because a lot of stuff happens that builds up to what happens in this episode, and I just don't want to spoil it, especially there's some things I did say that may end up spoiling certain things for you when it comes to the previous episodes. But anyways, long story short, this was a pretty damn good season finale. It left it in a way where you are wanting more as an audience member. It's a definitely big cliffhanger and you're just curious to see what's going to go on. Did What's-His-Face see what he saw? What the heck is Vincent going to be doing? Oh my goodness, that did not just happen to Catherine. that's the type of cliffhanger you end up getting with this season finale. The other thing I want to talk about is the relationships in this series. Now, of course, the main relationship is between the Beauty and the Beast, Catherine and Vincent, and a lot of people ship them. There's a hardcore already following for these two who are like, all I want to see in episodes are Vincent and Catherine. I can care less about anything else. There's already that fandom already has been created. I already see Vincent and Catherine shippers being very aggressive towards the later episodes of this season because there's certain spoilers out there that are very upsetting for them, but I'm actually looking forward to it because honestly, I'm not really shipping anybody at this point because I'm pretty torn. Like, I like Vincent and Catherine, but I also like Catherine and Evan, so now I'm left with this, I don't even know who I ship, but even though I feel like I lean more towards Catherine and Vincent, I'm not mad if Catherine and Evan also happened because Evan is just adorable. I really like his character. So I'm actually torn between who I like more over the other. It's just very confusing for me at this point. But overall, this series is a good series. And I want to again say, for those who gave up on this series after the pilot episode, by all means, give this series another chance. I'm going to post links to Hulu, the CW, iTunes, all kinds of different ways you can watch the episodes for free, and you can catch up on the series. And you have a few weeks to do it because the series is not going to come back till January 24th, I believe. Yes, January 24th is when the new episodes will be coming back. So you have that span of time to catch up and enjoy the series as much as I'm enjoying it. So yeah, that is all for this episode of Ship War. Goodbye and until next time. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Now before I go into this review, I just want to give you guys a little history on my relationship with these films, the Lord of the Rings films. And here's my thing, I owned them all, and I saw each and every one of them opening weekend. Now here's my history, my little story on how I got into these films. Now, I remember going to a movie, not exactly sure what movie it was, but seeing the trailer to The Fellowship of the Ring. And I was with my friend, and we were watching this trailer.